I was so inspired by the conversation that I recently had with Kate and Talia of Mavenly & Co. These entrepreneurs are just absolutely amazing. They are everything that a young woman would hope to aspire to be. And the good news is they are pouring into so many women, not just in Atlanta, but around the globe, to help them find their true purpose and excel in both life and their careers. Take a look.
Joining us this morning, Titania Jordan.
Tatiana Jordan. Did I get the name right?
Titania.
Titania. Okay. All right.
It's Titania Jordan.
So I'm so excited to have you guys here on Connect. Your branding is off the chain. Like it is so on point. Where did you come up with the name Mavenly & Co?
That's a really good question because we started with not that name. We started with a terrible name, a name that I don't even we don't even like saying it on camera because it was such a terrible name. And so we had, this blog that at the time, just this blog that we were running, and we had this terrible name, and it was just eating me up inside because branding is so important to me, and it's such a value of ours, especially with the work that we do and the women that we serve. And so I remember every night for probably a week, I would wake up at like 3 in the morning and I was like, there's an M word. Is it Maverick? No. Is it Muse? No. And I actually got my phone 3 in the morning, go on dictionary.com, start typing in MA, and the word Maven came up. And it means someone who gains a set of knowledge or skills and then wants to pass it along to someone else, traditionally a woman. And I was like, that is it. Perfect. Oh my God, that is perfect. Of course, go to maven.com, taken. And so Mavenly is how we got there. We thought it would be a feminine twist, something that is a little unique to us and catchy. And so Mavenly.com was also taken, so we're Mavenly.co.
I love it. I don't know if you saw, but I kind of still have goosebumps. I love those stories, right? It's just meant to be. Yeah. And even like it's techie too, like Bitly, and you know what I mean? Like it just works.
LY is in the space.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
It's
so
awesome.
True. Yeah.
And so let's talk about the roles that each of you fill at Mavenly & Co. Before we get into that, I love that you said the word serve. We'll talk about that soon. But yeah, so what do each of you own at Mavenly & Co.?
Yeah. So we're big believers that co-founders should have complementary skill sets. So we are not good at the same things, but we have enough overlap that it works. And so we used to joke that Talia was the green tea to my double shot espresso. So I'm more the logistics, running fast, breaking things, constantly changing, making ridiculous requests at late nights for things that are much more logistical.
Early mornings, not late nights.
Yeah, that's true. I go to bed relatively early and she is up later. And then she's a psychologist by trade, and so she does a lot of the theory-based education, and she comes from an academic background, which she is incredibly fluent in and can tell you a ton about. But it's really that nice balance of almost like the business aspect of our business and then the academic and theory side of what we do. So
awesome. Talia, do you want to add anything onto that?
Yeah, I think Kate put it perfectly. We each bring something very unique and different to the table, but we need each other for this to work. And I think to be able to stand on common grounds knowing that we're both here to do the same thing, to achieve a common goal, is what really drives us forward every day. And so to be able to bring her experience in a bunch of different career settings to the table, and then for me to have studied organizational psychology in grad school and to bring a more academic perspective to the work we do, helps us build out the curriculum and do the coaching work that we do, but her business sense brings the reality check to a lot of what we do. So it's a beautiful blend of things.
It's awesome. So would you say that Mavenly & Co. in a nutshell helps women build a better career path or a workplace culture?
That is such a great question because I think for us, we're so problem focused and not product focused. So we realized that the workplace that both of us came into was broken. And so for us, we're constantly thinking about what is the best way to create a workplace that works for everyone. So we really have this dual audience, a primary audience of women that are going into the workplace and potentially being discouraged by what they see. And then, which happens all the time, happened to us. That's why it's a passion of ours. But then also working with organizations that say, we want this to be a great place for those women to come, and it's not, and we're wondering why.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that came from understanding through the work we did coaching women who were not fulfilled in their work what they need to be fulfilled and what they're actually seeking in their next opportunity, whether it's a new job or how to make it better where you are. And so for us to only have those conversations with women seemed unfair. We need to be having these in the workplace so that everybody can be a part of the conversations and so that real change can happen on a bigger level. So you're not just building the tools and resources on your own, but you're walking into an environment that speaks that same language and really supports that development in an ongoing way.
And you truly serve both the population of women trying to achieve more and more fulfillment in their career and workplaces looking to provide the best experience possible and environment possible. And you do that through a variety of ways. Obviously your website is beautiful and very helpful, mavenly.co. Your podcast has blown up. I sat in a talk at Switch Arts given by Talia and Kate, and I was like, oh my gosh, like notes for days, right? So please subscribe to their podcast. It is truly valuable and helpful. Where else are you dropping knowledge across the world?
Oh my goodness. So we have a lot of different platforms that we enjoy because we realize our audience consumes in different ways. My favorite medium is Instagram. Our platform is Instagram. Yes. So we put so much there. If you're kind of looking for the catch-all besides our website, that's really it. We also do career profiles. So we find these women that have careers that they really love and we profile them, share their stories. And then we also have a blog and we have articles going out there. And so those are, the main places where we share. We constantly do collaborations and partnerships with other like-minded companies and brands. But really for us, our curated content goes through Instagram and our website.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, there's so much content online. And what we realized at one point was that we need to be having these conversations in person too and building relationships into this journey for women. So there is the content, the resource, all of that's online on different platforms for people to access. But a lot of the work also happens in building relationships in person. And we do that through retreats that we hold, through our in-person coaching programs, through our online coaching program. So we're trying to kind of hit it from all angles so that there is something for you to turn to online. You can access at any point, but also someone to be a part of that journey with you. I think many people just find value in having a friend in the process, in the job search process, in the I'm not feeling great about life. I need someone to just know that. So it's a very holistic perspective, I think, that we bring to career support and development.
And people come from all over the world to attend your retreats. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't do that if they weren't valuable. So, I mean, how does it feel to have this company that is truly making an impact in people's lives? I mean, what does that feel like?
It's
a deep breath.
Yeah, it really is.
It necessitates a deep breath.
I mean, if you had come to us 3 years ago when we were starting this and say that women were, investing quite literally thousands of dollars in coming to experiences of ours because they're investing in plane tickets and the experience itself and everything it takes to get there, women actually selling their furniture to be able to come to events of ours in the United States, to us, it showed the need for what we were doing, and it really validated what we were doing, seeing that kind of reaction to the events that we were hosting. And I think for us, speaking to the podcast and the fact that that's blown up, a lot of it because of the iTunes algorithm and the way that we organize that content, but also because I think hearing someone talk about their experience in perspective, almost in a way of telling a story, is so different than reading a blog. And you know this obviously because of the amazing content you put out. That being able to, share and people hear your voice and they see your face and they can relate to what's going on. I think the unique advantage we have in the marketplace is we are our audience. We are the women we're speaking to, and so our experiences oftentimes mirror the experiences of women in Colombia, in Portugal, in New Zealand, and that's why we have clients all over the world, because they hear us and they can relate to what we're going through in our career and what's happening. And we talk about the topics we're interested in because we know that that's most likely a shared experience.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering because from the outside, anybody who looks at either of you and what you're putting out there is probably really blown away by how strong and smart and sharp and driven you are. And there's so many people in the world that think, wow, I could never do that. Like, I have all these ideas, but like they actually made it a company, and they're, you know, getting a paycheck from it, and like it's growing and it's succeeding. And there's just that mindset of like imposter syndrome, or I could never. And did you have strong role models in your life? Did you have people supporting you? Did you figure it out on your own? Like, how do you get to be where you are? How do we impart that strength and wisdom and drive into those women out there watching and listening right now that are like, I want to know what that's like?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
It was like 7 questions.
Yeah,
sorry.
I mean, I think both of us would say that we've had support in different ways through different communities and social groups we're a part of, family. I think for the how to get to where we are, I think it's been, I know you posted a meme about this a while back on Instagram, but it's this idea of like not having a plan B. This was the only thing that we needed to do. It wasn't even an option. Once the content had been out there for a while, the brand had been built, I was in grad school, we just came to the point where there wasn't even a conversation about it. We had to do it in service of other people. It felt selfish not to. So I think the journey up until today, it's not about us. It's not about what we want. It's about what people need. And we're lucky in that that gives us energy, and we are good at what we do, and we enjoy what we do. And but at the end of the day, it's figuring out what is that thing that you can't not do.
And I think, too, to speak to that, I mean, there are times where we've both experienced imposter syndrome. You know, when we were starting Mavenly, there were other brands that are in the same space that are far and beyond, you know, being funded by Sheryl Sandberg. So to think like, how could we ever do that? I could never do that, so I'm not going to. And I think it's important, and I shared this, you know, on a podcast we did recently. At the end of year 1, our revenue was negative $52. So like, it's not, and that, like, I say that for like audience members who are listening that are like, oh, they just decided that they needed to help women, and now they, you know, post pretty pictures on Instagram, and that's how they make their money. And it's so opposite of that. The amount of like late nights, tears. I mean, Talia and I coordinating cabs. We both had the flu in New York while we still have to put this event on. After she had just gotten back from Israel. I mean, there are so many moments you don't see on our beautiful Instagram feed, and I think that is why our podcast is most popular, because we share those vulnerable moments of it's not glam. It's not always beautiful, smart makeup, like everything. Yeah, it's not all white space and peonies and puppy dogs. It's really not, and I think for us to be able to speak to that is really important, and it's why the career profiles and the Mavens We Love portion of our website is a lot of people's favorites, because we dig into the stories of, okay, what's the nitty-gritty happening behind the scenes? I always say on the Forbes, you know, cover page, you see like she was bankrupt and now she's a billionaire. It's like there was a lot in the middle there that you just conveniently missed. And for us, I think that was so important. So Talia is absolutely right. It's something that if we didn't have the passion to do and the drive to do, and hearing people say that they need it, after year 1, there's no way we would have continued.
I was at the Atlanta Tech Village showcase last night, and a very successful, like, billion-dollar exit entrepreneur was talking about how he had maxed out 41 credit cards using variations of his name, because back in the 80s they weren't as things. Yeah. And he literally spread them all out across the table in an investment banker's office and was like, it's either you write me a $250,000 check or I'm going to jail. Like, these are all maxed out. It's like there is no other option. And it's passion too. One thing I absolutely loved reading on your website was that you realized there was a void when it came to women having honest conversations about the direction of their careers and lives. And I was like, preach, preach, because like, I don't do small talk. I don't like small talk. Life is too short for all the BS. Like, I want to cut through the clutter. I want to know your story. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what struggles you've gone through. I want to know how I can help you. You know what I mean? And we need more of that. And you are doing that. And that's how we all rise. You know, when you start to realize that the people that you admire have gone through hard times, that you're not alone, your world opens up.
life-changing.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, for me, it was one of our first podcasts. I was talking to a woman who had started a successful company, and I said, what advice do you give to people starting out? Like, not advice like stay determined or keep going. And she was like, Kate, quite honestly, doing one thing every day for my business and realizing like I just had to keep doing one thing every day, that I don't know why there was such like a light bulb moment for me, because it seemed like this mountain in front of me, but like small, honest conversations like that I think were so helpful, and Talia can speak to that too. We're not small talk people either. We're people that want to get to the deep things, and I mean, the number of times I walk by, Talia like talking to a client or having a conversation with someone, and there's like clearly like emotion and tears and like things that are going on, like that's what we want to get to, because I think social media has made it so easy for us to put on this face and have seemingly emotionless conversations. There's lots in the void, but it's not real and it's not honest. And so I think for us that was really important, and why we are very careful in how we curate our brand to make it feel comfortable and approachable, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very cognizant of everything I kind of put out on social, because it's going to be hopefully beautiful, entertaining, good content, great filters, good angles. But at the same time, like, I'll be the first to tell you that I struggle with X, Y, or Z, that everything's not perfect. Like, I'm an open book. Yeah. But I'm not going to sacrifice brand or content because of it. So it's real.
Absolutely, and I think that's why, Sarah Blakely's one of my favorite founders to follow on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Not only does she have an amazing brand and an amazing company that she's created, but she does the glam and she does the beautiful faces, but then you watch her Instagram stories, she's in SpongeBob SquarePants, PJs, and she's dropping off one of her kids at daycare, and the kid's embarrassed because she's walking in with the PJs, and it's like, yes, like you're a billionaire and you're still struggling with like getting kids to school on time and like being able to do makeup. And so I think having the contrast of both of those things makes her so relatable and someone that I really look up to, because I think realizing that, like in so many ways she's just like me is very helpful.
It's amazing. I will never forget, I ran into her at the dermatologist's office, and I was like, and like I was going through like a really rough patch of like acne, and I was like 24, and I was like, this should have, been over with, at like 16. And she was just so kind, and she was like, you should do this and that and that, and I'm like, like you go here too. Right. It's amazing. You're like a human.
Exactly.
Real person.
Yeah.
No, she's great. Her story is amazing.
Yeah.
And like, shout out to Atlanta female entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Like, big ups there.
I love her.
So in the spirit of authenticity, I would like to hear from each of you. Like, what is one thing that you're maybe still struggling with, or like, okay, this obstacle is what I'm going to tackle in 2018.
I think for any entrepreneur, and I'll speak for myself, but patience is something that takes time to cultivate and understand the value of. And when you're starting out on your own, you have to have a level not just of patience, but of trust that it will get to where it's meant to get to. And so for me, it's been assuming responsibility, but also giving it the time it needs to get to where it needs to get to, and to not feel like I'm behind or that it's not the right thing. I think a lot of us get stuck in this right or wrong and what people are going to think about it or say about what you're doing. But ultimately, if the purpose behind it is there and the meaning and the day-to-day is there, you have to trust that it's going to lead you to where you want to get to, but more importantly, do what it's meant to for other people. So learning to be patient, learning to trust, learning to listen to the fear and not let fear be a negative thing. That's a lot of work I do with clients in terms of no one wants to feel anything bad. We don't want to feel bad emotions, but negative emotions are there for a reason. They serve a function. So I'm learning to change the relationship I have with fear and negative emotions to not just help myself, but also set the example for the clients we're working with. You have to exemplify and model that to the people you're talking to. So that's been a challenge, but one that I'm happy to take on.
Awesome. I'm right there with you. I'm like, why isn't it happening now? I want it now. I'm working really hard. Now. Life is short.
Yeah.
But you just got to wait and breathe, because it's I get it. Yeah. What about you, Kate?
So kind of an adjacent obstacle or challenge that I'm looking to address in 2018 is this idea of scalability. I think in startup world and in startup culture, it's all about, can you scale and how do you maximize this and optimize this? And you hear all the buzzwords and the jargon. And I think I have put so much pressure on our brand to scale because we do value our relationships so heavily and we value in-person time, but there's only 2 of us. In fact, we talk to other founders all the time. We talk to investors, and they'll say like, you can't duplicate yourselves. So we have to find a way to scale this in a different way. And I think for us, there's this constant internal battle of what are we willing to sacrifice to be able to scale, because the model we have, we care so much about the in-person relationships and having that type of community and that type of company. And so having to, do well and do good at the same time can sometimes be a struggle. And so being very transparent with so many people, they think, okay, how are you able to monetize this and what does the back end look like? I think we're the first people to be incredibly honest about the fact that like we're working on that all the time. We're constantly thinking of ways of how can we speak to our mission and stay true to our mission and be profitable. And we don't think those 2 things are disaligned. We think that those 2 things can happen at the same time, and it's constantly trying to do well for ourselves and do well for others. And I think that will be something we continue to work on, not just in 2018, but for a long time.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's spot on. So on that note, how can we as a community of women, a community in Atlanta, and a community globally pour into you and Mavenly Co. and help you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think for us, we started this because we cared so much about people's professional development, whether it's on an entrepreneurial track or in the workplace. So we really urge anyone to go to our website to, read up on the content that we have. And then if there is an organization that's struggling with workplace culture or, being a great, fulfilling, engaging place for people to work, let them know about us. And if you meet people, which I'm sure you do all the time, I know at least we do, maybe we attract them because of the brand we have, but all the time, I'll get calls from my dad. He's like, I met a young girl and this is so exciting. She hates her job. Like, she can talk to you guys. So we're like, we don't know if we want you to be excited about that, but if you meet someone who's struggling, so often we realize that the conversation we're having is like, what do people type into Google when they're looking for us, or when they're feeling desperate about their job, when they're feeling lost? And so we're constantly trying to get in front of the right people, and we realize how beneficial, Talia and her work with our clients is. And so the more people we can expose to that, the better. So if there's someone that's struggling in their career, or there are managers and executives that are looking to create a workplace culture that's welcoming of, women, minorities, and millennials, those are the people we want to talk to.
And so they should go to mavenly.co. They should follow you across all social platforms, listen to your podcast, and really stay plugged into what you're doing, because it's great. And it's helping so many people.
Thank you so much.
And I'm honored to know you and to be working in this space with you and have you on Connect. And please always let me know how I can help. And y'all are just awesome. Like, great job.
Thank you so much, and you too. We're such fans of yours and everything you do for not only the Atlanta community, but all of us entrepreneurs.
Thank you. It's fun when you shift your mindset from me, now to how can I serve others. Everything changes.
Absolutely.
And it comes back.
It does. It does. You can't outgive. Like, you give and it comes back tenfold.
Absolutely.
It's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, everybody go to mavenly.co. We'll have the links for you. Follow these amazing women. I know I am, and you should too. So thank you so much.
Thank you.